Jake Morrison sat in the huge council chamber and looked around at the hundreds of alien beings. The air smelled like metal and strange chemicals from all the different species breathing together. His human nose wrinkled a little, but he tried not to show it. As Earth's ambassador to the Galactic Federation, he had to look calm and professional even when he felt out of place. The chamber was enormous, bigger than any stadium back on Earth. Floating platforms held representatives from every corner of the galaxy. Some aliens looked like giant insects with too many eyes. Others were made of what seemed like living crystal that changed colors when they moved. A few looked almost human except for their blue skin or extra arms. Jake had been doing this job for 3 years now, but he still felt amazed every time he saw them all together. Today was supposed to be a boring meeting about trade routes and shipping schedules. Jake had his tablet ready with notes about Earth's requests for better access to the outer colonies. Humans were still new to the galactic community, only joining the Federation 15 years ago. They were always having to prove themselves and ask nicely for things other species took for granted. High Chancellor Vexthan floated at the center of the chamber on his crystal platform. His body looked like a living diamond that sparkled with different colors as he moved. The Zephyrian leader was old, even by his species standards, and had been running Federation meetings for over 200 years. His voice came through the translation devices as cold and formal. "Today we address an urgent matter of galactic security," Vexthan announced. His crystal body flashed red, which Jake had learned meant he was serious about something. "The practices of species designation. Human pose a direct threat to the stability of our Federation." Jake felt his stomach drop. This was not on the agenda. He quickly checked his tablet, but there was nothing about humans being discussed today. Around the chamber, other representatives turned to look at him. Some seemed curious, others looked worried. A few of the more hostile species looked pleased, like they had been waiting for this moment. "I call for immediate restrictions on all Earth-origin food products and consumption practices," Vexthan continued. "The evidence will show that humans regularly consume substances that would kill or severely harm most galactic species." The chamber's massive holographic displays came to life. Jake watched in horror as footage began playing that showed humans doing normal, everyday things. But he was seeing it through alien eyes now, and it looked terrible. The first clip showed a human chef named Lisa Grant in her restaurant kitchen. She was making what looked like a normal pasta dish, adding red pepper flakes and hot sauce like any cook would do. But the scanner readings on the screen showed capsaicin levels that made several alien representatives gasp in their seats. The numbers were in the red zone, marked as lethal dose for most species. The next clip was even worse. It showed humans at a bar, laughing and drinking beer and wine. The alcohol content readings flashed on screen like warning signs. Jake watched a man drink a shot of whiskey that the scanner labeled as industrial solvent, fatal if consumed. The man just smiled and ordered another one. More footage followed. Humans eating chocolate, which the scanner marked as containing theobromine, a compound that could kill many alien species. A woman enjoying coffee, the caffeine levels high enough to stop several alien hearts. Children eating candy that contained artificial colors and preservatives that were banned as toxins on most Federation worlds. The worst part was the footage of a human barbecue. Families were grilling meat over open flames, the smoke containing dozens of compounds that the scanner identified as carcinogens. Everyone was laughing and having a good time, completely unaware that they were surrounded by what aliens saw as deadly chemicals. "As you can see," Vexthan said, his crystal form now flashing angry red, "humans regularly consume substances that our medical databases classify as poisons, toxins, and industrial chemicals. They appear to do this for pleasure." Jake stood up, his hands shaking. "High Chancellor, with respect, these are normal foods for humans. We have different biology than other species. What might be harmful to you is completely safe for us." "Safe?" screeched Representative Clichter from the Insectoid Collective. Her voice came through the translator as a series of clicking sounds. "Your species drinks ethanol for entertainment. Ethanol is used to sterilize medical equipment and dissolve organic compounds. No sane species would consume such things. But we're not other species, Jake protested. Humans have evolved differently. Our digestive systems can process these compounds safely. Dr. Hexallen from the Vegan Research Institute spoke up. His tall, thin form swayed as he talked. The concern is not just about human safety, Ambassador Morrison. These substances are so dangerous that even small amounts could contaminate food supplies throughout the galaxy. A single human meal could poison an entire colony of more sensitive species. Jake felt the room turning against him. He could see it in the way the aliens were looking at him now, like he was some kind of dangerous creature instead of a diplomatic representative. This is ridiculous, he said, his voice getting louder. Humans have been eating these foods for thousands of years. We're not dangerous. The evidence suggests otherwise, Vexton replied coldly. Your species has developed an alarming tolerance for toxic substances. This makes you unpredictable and potentially hazardous to galactic health and safety. The holographic displays changed to show more footage. This time it was security camera recordings from various space stations and alien worlds. It showed humans visiting alien restaurants and getting violently sick from what aliens considered mild, safe foods. Then it showed the opposite. Aliens trying human food and ending up in medical facilities, their bodies unable to process even small amounts of salt, sugar, or spices. These incidents have been increasing as human travel becomes more common, Vexton explained. Our medical facilities are not equipped to handle the complications that arise from human dietary practices. Something must be done before we have a galaxy-wide health crisis. Jake tried to think of arguments, but the evidence was overwhelming. When you looked at it from an alien perspective, humans did seem crazy and dangerous. He thought about his own breakfast that morning: coffee with milk and sugar, toast with butter, and orange juice. To most aliens, that would be like drinking poison with a side of toxic waste. I call for a vote, Vexton announced. All in favor of classifying human food products as Class A galactic hazards and implementing immediate restrictions on their transport and consumption outside of human-controlled space. The voting began immediately. Jake watched in horror as species after species voted yes. The giant display board showed the numbers climbing. 100 yes, 150 yes, 300 yes. Only a few scattered votes came in as no, mostly from species that had close trading relationships with Earth. The motion passes, Vexton announced when the voting ended. Final count: 847 in favor, 3 opposed. Effective immediately, all human food products are banned from Federation space. Human settlements outside Earth's solar system have 60 days to eliminate all Earth-origin food supplies. Jake felt like he had been hit by a truck. High Chancellor, please reconsider. This will cut off human colonies from their food supplies. People will starve. Then they should have thought of that before choosing to consume industrial chemicals. Vexton replied without emotion. The health and safety of the Federation comes first. This meeting is adjourned. As the alien representatives began floating away from their platforms, Jake stood alone in the massive chamber. His hands were shaking as he activated his communication device to contact Earth. How was he going to explain this? How was he going to tell his government that humanity had just been banned from eating their own food anywhere in the galaxy? He thought about his wife and kids back on Earth, probably sitting down to dinner right now. They had no idea that their simple meal of hamburgers and French fries had just been declared weapons of mass destruction by the most powerful organization in the galaxy. Jake took a deep breath and started composing his message to Earth. This was going to change everything. 6 months had passed since the Federation banned human food, and Amy Rodriguez was tired of running. She crouched behind a pile of shipping containers on the dark side of Luna Colony, watching Federation patrol ships circle overhead. Their searchlights swept back and forth across the loading docks. Looking for smugglers like her, Amy's cargo ship, the Free Lunch, was hidden in an old mining tunnel about a mile away. Inside its hold were 3 tons of contraband food, Coffee beans, chocolate, bars, canned tomatoes, and bottles of hot sauce. To most of the galaxy, she was carrying weapons. To the hungry humans on the outer colonies, she was carrying hope. Amy, you need to see this. Danny Kim's voice crackled through her earpiece. Danny was her ship's engineer, a small guy with big glasses who could fix anything and hack into any computer system. I'm picking up distress signals from Kepler Station. They're in bad shape. Amy pressed her earpiece to respond. How bad? Colony Director Paul Chun is saying they have maybe 2 weeks of food left. Their hydroponic systems are failing. The plants they're growing aren't giving people the nutrition they need. People are getting sick. Amy cursed under her breath. She had heard similar reports from human colonies across the galaxy. The Federation had been very thorough with their ban. No ship carrying human food was allowed to dock at any Federation station. Trade routes that had supplied human colonies for years were suddenly cut off. The aliens who used to sell food to humans had stopped, afraid of being arrested. What about their emergency supplies? Amy asked. Gone, Danny replied. They've been eating protein bars and vitamin supplements for months. But it's not enough. Dr. Martinez says people are developing deficiency diseases. Without proper food, the whole colony might die. Amy had seen this before. Humans needed more than just basic nutrition. They needed the complex compounds that came from Earth foods, the spices, the fermented products, the variety of flavors and textures that their bodies had evolved to process. Without them, people got weak and sick. Tell Chun will be there. In 3 days, Amy said. Have him prepare a landing bay away from the main port? Amy, that's crazy. Kepler Station is in the middle of Federation space. If they catch us, ... They won't catch us, Amy said, but she wasn't sure she believed it. The Federation had been getting better at tracking smugglers. 3 ships had been captured just last week, their crews sent to prison colonies. Amy made her way back to the free lunch through the mining tunnels. The old passages were perfect for hiding a ship, but they were also cold and damp. She pulled her jacket tighter as she walked inside the ship. She found Danny and Susan Torres, their medic, sitting around the small table in the galley. Susan was a tough woman who had worked on frontier medical stations before joining Amy's crew. She had seen what happened to humans who couldn't get proper food. Danny told me about Kepler Station, Susan said as Amy sat down. We have to help them. I know, Amy replied. But we need to be smart about it. The Federation is watching everything now. Susan pulled out her tablet and showed Amy a map of the galaxy. Red dots marked human colonies that had sent distress signals. There were dozens of them, scattered across Federation space. It's not just Kepler Station, Susan said. The whole human diaspora is starving. Amy studied the map. We can't save everyone. We're just one ship. Actually, Danny said, looking up from his computer, we might not be alone anymore. He turned his screen toward Amy and Susan. It showed a secure communication channel that Amy had never seen before. Messages were flowing across it from all over the galaxy. It's a network, Danny explained. Other smugglers, sympathetic aliens, even some Federation citizens who think the ban is wrong. They're calling it the Underground Railroad. Amy read some of the messages. Ship captains were reporting successful food deliveries to human colonies. Alien merchants were offering to hide human food in their cargo holds. Scientists were sharing research about human nutrition and why the ban was medically unnecessary. This is incredible, Amy said. How did you find this? I didn't find it, Danny replied. It found me. Someone sent me the access codes yesterday. There are people all over the galaxy who want to help. One message caught Amy's attention. It was from someone called Clicktar, an Altarian merchant. Amy knew that Altarians looked like tall, thin humans with silver skin and large eyes. They were known for being traders and deal makers. I have been watching human food practices for many years, Clicktar's message read. The Federation's decision is based on fear, not facts. My species has been secretly testing small amounts of human spices. We have found they have beneficial effects on our health. I offer my ship and my crew to help transport human food to those who need it. Scrolled through more messages. Dr. Zixmara, a Rigelian scientist, had written about conducting experiments with human food compounds. A group of vegan researchers had started a study on human digestive evolution. Even some Federation military officers were questioning the ban. "Look at this," Susan said, pointing to another message. "It's from Captain Rodriguez of the cargo. Ship Bright Star. Wait, that's not you, is it?" Amy shook her head. "Different Rodriguez. Common name. But it looks like she's running food to the colonies near Tau Ceti." "And here's another one," Danny added. "Captain Williams on the Merchant. Vessel Good Fortune. He's supplying the mining colonies in the asteroid belt." Amy realized she was looking at something bigger than just a few smugglers. This was a real resistance movement. Humans and aliens working together to fight an unjust law. "We need to coordinate with them," Amy said. "If we work together, we can help more people." Over the next few hours, Amy made contact with other members of the network. She learned that the resistance had three main goals: keep human colonies supplied with food, gather scientific evidence that human food wasn't dangerous, and build political support for overturning the ban. Captain Williams had been working with Dr. Zixmara to document the positive effects of human food on alien physiology. Clicktar had been building a network of alien merchants willing to transport human food in secret. Other smugglers were mapping safe routes through Federation space. "There's a meeting," Danny said, reading a new message. "Next week at the old trading post in the neutral zone. Representatives from all the major resistance cells will be there." Amy made her decision. "Set course for Kepler Station first. We help those people, then we go to the meeting." The free lunch lifted off from Luna Colony under cover of darkness. Amy kept the ship's engines on minimum power to avoid detection. They would have to take the long way around to Kepler Station, using asteroid fields and nebulae to hide their heat signature. As they flew through space, Amy thought about how her life had changed. 6 months ago, she had been a legitimate cargo hauler, moving supplies between human colonies. Now she was a fugitive, breaking Federation law every day, but she didn't regret it. People needed food to survive, and if the Federation wouldn't let them have it legally, then illegal was the only option. "Amy," Susan said, looking at her medical scanner readings from the colonies they had contacted, "you need to see this. The malnutrition rates are getting worse. If we don't get more food to these people soon, we're going to start seeing deaths." Amy gripped the ship's controls tighter. "Then we better not fail." 3 days later they approached Kepler Station. Amy could see the colony's lights in the distance, much dimmer than they should be. The station was conserving power, another sign of how desperate things had become. "Incoming message from Colony Director Chun," Danny reported. Amy activated the communication channel. "This is Amy Rodriguez aboard the free lunch. We have your supplies." "Thank God," came Chun's voice, rough with exhaustion. "Docking Bay 7 is clear. We've disabled the security sensors." As Amy guided her ship toward the station, she saw movement in the shadows. Other ships were approaching Kepler Station from different directions. She recognized the profiles from the Resistance network messages. "Looks like we're not the only ones who got the call," Danny said. Amy smiled for the first time in days. The Resistance was growing. Commander Thelvo stood on the bridge of the Federation security ship, watchful. Ian stared at the holographic display showing cargo ship movements in the outer sectors. His forearms moved quickly across the control panels as he tracked the unusual patterns that had been appearing over the past few weeks. Thelvos was a Catherian, a species that looked like tall humans with gray skin and extra arms. His people were known for being excellent investigators and security officers. They could process multiple streams of information at once and spot patterns that other species missed. "These ships are not following normal trade routes," he said. To his second-in-command, Lieutenant Zeronix, "They are making unnecessary stops and detours. They are avoiding Federation checkpoints." Zeronix, a blue-skinned Andromedan, nodded her agreement. "We have also detected increased communications traffic using encrypted channels. Someone is coordinating these movements. Thelvos had been hunting human food smugglers for 2 months. Now, the Federation Council had given him unlimited resources to stop the illegal trade. So far, he had captured 3 small ships, but the bigger operations kept slipping away. "There," he said, pointing to a cargo ship called the Free Lunch on the scanner. "This ship has visited 4 human colonies in the past week." "No legitimate?" cargo hauler would make such a route. "Should we intercept?" Zaronix asked. "Not yet. We follow and see where it leads us. If there is a smuggling network, this ship might take us to their main base." The watchful eye began tracking the Free Lunch from a distance. Thelvos watched as it made its way toward the old asteroid mining facility in Sector 7. The facility had been abandoned for years, making it a perfect hiding place for criminals. "Sir," called out Officer Klex from the communications station, "we are receiving a priority message from Proxima Station. They want us to bring any captured contraband to their xenobiology research facility immediately." Thelvos found this strange. Usually, captured smuggling goods were simply destroyed. "Did they say why?" "No, sir. Just that it is urgent and relates to galactic security." Thelvos decided to move fast. "All units prepare for raid. We take the smugglers and their cargo." 20 minutes later, Federation security forces surrounded the asteroid facility. The Free Lunch was docked inside one of the old mining tunnels, along with 2 other ships that Thelvos recognized as suspected smugglers. "Attention illegal vessels," Thelvos broadcast. "You are surrounded. Surrender immediately and prepare to be boarded." The response came quickly. "This is Amy Rodriguez, captain of the Free Lunch. We surrender. Please don't shoot. We have medical supplies on board." Thelvos and his team boarded the 3 ships. What they found surprised him. The cargo holds were filled with what looked like normal food: boxes of coffee, bags of rice, canned vegetables, and bottles of various liquids. To most species, these items looked harmless, but Thelvos knew they were classified as dangerous weapons. "Look at this," Zaronix said, holding up a small bottle of hot sauce. "The capsaicin levels in this could kill a Rigelian in minutes." "And this," Officer Klex added, pointing to a bag of chocolate. "The theobromine content is off the charts. This stuff is more dangerous than industrial poison." Amy Rodriguez and her crew were arrested without resistance. As they were led away, Amy looked at Thelvos with sad eyes. "You don't understand," she said. "People are dying without this food. We're trying to save lives." "You are breaking Federation law," Thelvos replied. "The safety of billions comes before the convenience of a few." The captured cargo was loaded onto the watchful eye and transported to Proxima Station. The research facility there was one of the most advanced in the galaxy, capable of analyzing any substance and determining its effects on different species. Dr. Nira Blackwood was waiting when the cargo arrived. She was the only human scientist still working at the facility. Most others had been transferred back to Earth after the food ban. Nira had been allowed to stay because of her expertise in human biology. "I'll handle the analysis," she told Thelvos. "As a human, I'm the only one who can safely work with these substances." Working with her was Dr. Hexalon, a vegan researcher who had been studying human physiology for the past year. He was tall and thin with pale green skin, and his large eyes showed genuine curiosity about the captured food. "I have been wondering about human dietary evolution," Dr. Hexalon said as they began examining the contraband. "How did your species develop the ability to consume such dangerous compounds?" Dr. Blackwood opened a bottle of hot sauce and carefully took a small sample. "They're not dangerous to us," she explained. "Our bodies process them differently." "What you see as poison, we see as flavor enhancement?" As they worked, Dr. Blackwood began to notice something interesting. The scanning equipment showed that the compounds in human food weren't just safe for humans, they were beneficial. The capsaicin in hot sauce wasn't just a toxin that humans happened to tolerate, it was actually good for the human nervous system. "This is strange," she said, looking at the readouts. "The molecular structure of these compounds suggests they have medicinal properties." Dr. Hexalon was examining a piece of chocolate. This theobromine that is so dangerous to other species, what does it do to humans? It's a mild stimulant, Dr. Blackwood replied. It improves mood and cognitive function. But the interesting thing is, it also has anti-inflammatory properties. Dr. Hexalen's eyes widened. Anti-inflammatory? My species suffers from chronic inflammation. It is one of our major health problems. Really? Dr. Blackwood said, getting excited. What if we could find a way to give you the benefits without the toxic effects? They spent the next several hours analyzing different food samples. What they found was remarkable. Every substance that other species considered dangerous had beneficial properties when used correctly. The acids in fermented foods could help with digestion. The alcohols that were toxic in large amounts could actually extend lifespan when used in tiny doses. We need to test this, Dr. Hexalen said. But we cannot do it officially. The Federation would never approve experiments with human food. Dr. Blackwood looked around the lab to make sure they were alone. What if we tested it on ourselves? Unofficially, Dr. Hexalen was quiet for a moment. That would be very dangerous. If we are wrong, we could die. But if we're right, we could save millions of lives. The Federation banned human food because they thought it was dangerous. But what if it's actually the opposite? What if human food is medicine? That night, Dr. Hexalen went to his quarters and made a decision that would change his life. He took a tiny drop of diluted hot sauce and put it on his tongue. The burning sensation was intense, but after a few minutes, something amazing happened. The chronic pain in his joints that had bothered him for years began to fade. Meanwhile, Dr. Blackwood was running computer models on the other captured foods. What she found made her excited and terrified at the same time. The Federation hadn't banned human food because it was dangerous. They had banned it because it was too valuable. The pharmaceutical companies that supplied medicine to most of the galaxy had been suppressing research into human food compounds for years. If other species discovered that humans had evolved to eat medicine, it would destroy the trillion-credit drug industry. Dr. Blackwood realized. She was holding evidence of the biggest cover-up in galactic history. The Federation hadn't made a mistake. They had deliberately lied about human food to protect their economic interest. The next morning, Dr. Hexalen arrived at the lab looking better than he had in months. His inflammation was gone, his energy was higher, and his thinking was clearer. Other researchers noticed the change immediately. You look different, Dr. Caltera, a Rigelian biochemist, said. What happened? Dr. Hexalen looked at Dr. Blackwood, who nodded. I tried a small amount of human food, he said quietly. It worked. It actually worked. Word spread quickly through the research facility. Within hours, a dozen alien scientists were secretly experimenting with tiny amounts of human food compounds. The results were consistent. When used properly, human food wasn't dangerous at all. It was incredibly beneficial. Dr. Blackwood knew they had to get this information to the Resistance Network. But first she had to figure out how to prove that. The Federation had been lying to everyone. As she worked late into the night, analyzing the data and preparing her report, she didn't notice the security cameras recording her every move. Someone was watching, and they were not happy about what she was discovering. The news spread through the galaxy faster than anyone expected. Dr. Nira Blackwood's research findings had been leaked to the underground network, and within days, every resistance cell had copies of her data. The truth was out. Human food wasn't dangerous. It was medicine. Amy Rodriguez sat in her cell on the Federation prison station, reading the smuggled data on a hidden tablet that Danny had slipped to her during visiting hours. Her hands shook as she read through the scientific reports. All this time, while the Federation had been hunting them down and calling them criminals, they had actually been delivering life-saving medicine to alien species. This changes everything, whispered her cellmate, Captain Lisa Grant, who had been arrested 2 weeks earlier while delivering supplies to a mining colony. We weren't just feeding hungry humans. We were accidentally curing alien diseases. The data showed that Dr. Hexalen's inflammation had completely disappeared after trying human spices. Other researchers at the facility had secretly tested small amounts of human food with similar results. A Rigelian scientist found that fermented human foods fixed his digestive problems. An Andromedan researcher discovered that tiny amounts of caffeine improved her memory and concentration. But the most shocking discovery was in the economic analysis that Dr. Blackwood had included. The pharmaceutical companies that dominated the galactic medicine trade had known about human food's beneficial properties for years. They had been the ones pushing for the ban, not because human food was dangerous, but because it threatened their profits. "Look at this," Amy said, pointing to a section of the report. Galactic pharma industry spent millions of credits lobbying for the food ban. They knew that if other species could get the same benefits from human spices that they got from expensive medicines, their entire business would collapse. On Earth, Jake Morrison was reading the same report in his office at the Diplomatic Center. He had been working nonstop for months, trying to build support for overturning the food ban. Now he finally had the evidence he needed to prove that the ban was wrong. "This is it," he said to his assistant, Maria Santos. "This proves the Federation lied to everyone. We need to get this information to every member species immediately." Maria was already working on it. "I'm sending copies to all the moderate Federation representatives who have been questioning the ban. The Centauran Alliance has been asking questions about the medical research. The Tau Ceti Coalition has been complaining that the ban hurts their trade relationships with human colonies." Jake activated his communication system and began making calls to allied species representatives. The response was immediate and angry. Nobody liked being lied to, especially when the lies had caused so much suffering. Meanwhile, on the human colony of New Chicago, Chef Marcus Johnson was dealing with a crisis. His restaurant had become an unofficial embassy where humans and aliens met to discuss the food ban. Now, with the new information spreading, aliens were showing up asking for help. "Please," said Dr. Kyle Terra, the Rigelian scientist who had heard about the research from her colleagues. "My daughter has the same inflammation disease that Dr. Hexalone had. Could you help her?" Marcus looked at the small, gray-skinned alien child who was clearly in pain. Her joints were swollen and she could barely walk. He had treated similar conditions in humans with a simple anti-inflammatory diet that included turmeric and ginger. "I can try," Marcus said carefully. "But we have to be very careful with the dosage. What works for humans might be too strong for Rigelians." Working with Dr. Rachel Murphy, a human xenobiologist who had been studying alien physiology, Marcus began developing what they called gateway foods. These were human dishes modified to be safe for alien biology, while still providing the beneficial compounds that could help with their health problems. They started with the Rigelian child, giving her tiny amounts of turmeric mixed with foods her species normally ate. Within hours, her inflammation began to reduce. By the next day, she was walking without pain for the first time in months. Word spread quickly through the alien community on New Chicago. Soon, Marcus had a line of sick aliens at his restaurant, all hoping for help. A Zephyrian with chronic pain tried diluted capsaicin and found relief. A vegan with digestive problems improved after eating fermented human foods in small quantities, but Marcus knew they were taking a huge risk. If the Federation found out what they were doing, everyone involved could be arrested. "We need to document everything," he told Dr. Murphy. "If we're going to prove that human food is beneficial, we need solid medical evidence." Dr. Murphy began keeping detailed records of every treatment. She measured the aliens' health before and after trying human foods. She tracked their blood chemistry, their pain levels, and their overall wellness. The results were undeniable. Human food compounds were helping alien diseases that had been considered incurable. The underground resistance network was growing stronger every day. Amy's arrest had made her a symbol of the fight against the food ban. Other smugglers were taking bigger risks to deliver supplies to human colonies. Alien merchants were openly defying Federation trade restrictions. Clicktar, the Altarian merchant who had been helping the resistance, sent a message to all network members. "The time for hiding is over. We must make our actions public. The galaxy needs to know the truth." On Proxima Station, Dr. Blackwood was facing her own crisis. Federation security had discovered her unauthorized experiments with human food. Commander Thelvos arrived at her lab with a team of guards. Dr. Blackwood, you are under arrest for conducting illegal research and endangering Federation citizens. Thelvos announced. But Dr. Hexalon stepped forward to defend her. Commander, wait. Look at the evidence. Dr. Blackwood's research has saved my life and the lives of dozens of other researchers here. Human food isn't dangerous when used properly. Thelvos looked confused. As a security officer, he had been trained to follow orders without question. But he could see that Dr. Hexalon was healthier than he had ever been. Other alien researchers in the lab were nodding in agreement. The Federation Council has classified human food as a class A hazard, Thelvos said, but his voice lacked conviction. The Federation Council was wrong, Dr. Blackwood replied. And I can prove it. Every piece of data we've collected shows that human food compounds have medicinal properties. The only danger is in the dosage. Dr. Hexalon picked up a bottle of hot sauce from the lab table. Commander, I have been taking small amounts of this substance for weeks. It cured a disease that my species has suffered from for thousands of years. How can something that heals be dangerous? Thelvos looked at the bottle, then at the healthy aliens around him. Everything he had been told about human food being dangerous was being contradicted by the evidence in front of him. I need to report this to my superiors, he said finally. But he didn't arrest anyone. As news of the medical breakthroughs spread, protests began erupting on Federation worlds. Species that had suffered from chronic diseases for generations were demanding access to human food compounds. The Rigelian government formally requested that the Federation reconsider the ban. The Centaurian Alliance threatened to leave the Federation if the embargo continued. High Chancellor Vexthan called an emergency session of the Federation Council. The chamber was packed with angry representatives demanding answers. The pharmaceutical lobbies that had pushed for the ban were suddenly silent, their influence weakening as the truth came out. How long have you known? Demanded Representative Clichter from the Insectoid Collective. How long have you known that human food could help our people? Vexthan's crystal form flashed with nervous colors. The evidence was overwhelming, and he knew that his leadership was in jeopardy. The Federation had been caught in a massive lie, and the member species were demanding justice. Jake Morrison stood up in the chamber. High Chancellor, I formally request that the Federation Council vote to overturn the food ban immediately. The evidence shows that human food is not only safe, when properly administered, but beneficial to many species. The chamber erupted in discussion. Some representatives supported overturning the ban immediately. Others demanded investigations into who had covered up the medical benefits. The pharmaceutical lobbies tried to argue that more research was needed, but their credibility was destroyed. As the debate raged, Amy Rodriguez was released from prison along with dozens of other food smugglers. The charges against them were quietly dropped as the Federation tried to avoid admitting they had been wrong all along. The revolution had begun, and it was being fought with recipes and research rather than weapons and warfare. The old space station floating in the neutral zone had seen better days. Deep Space Nine had once been a busy trading post where merchants from across the galaxy would meet to buy and sell goods. Now it was mostly empty, forgotten by the major powers. That made it perfect for what Chef Marcus Johnson had planned. Marcus stood in the station's main cargo bay, watching dozens of ships arrive from every corner of the galaxy. Human vessels flew alongside alien craft, all coming together for what people were calling the Galactic Potluck. It was either going to be the greatest diplomatic dinner in history or the biggest disaster the galaxy had ever seen. Are you sure about this? Asked Dr. Rachel Murphy, who was helping Marcus prepare the food. If something goes wrong, if someone gets sick, it could make everything worse. Marcus looked at the tables being set up around the huge cargo bay. Rachel, we've tested everything 100 times. The doses are perfect for each species. This isn't about taking risks anymore. This is about showing the galaxy that food brings people together, not drives them apart. Amy Rodriguez walked over to join them. She had been released from prison 2 weeks ago when the charges against all the food smugglers were dropped. Now, she was using her ship to transport ingredients for the feast. "The Federation patrol ships are keeping their distance," she reported, "but we know they're watching." "Let them watch," Marcus said. "We're not hiding anymore." The cargo bay was filling up with the strangest dinner party the galaxy had ever seen. Rigelians sat next to humans, their gray skin glowing with health after weeks of carefully controlled treatment with human anti-inflammatory foods. Centaurians shared tables with vegans, both species amazed at how human fermented foods had improved their digestion. Even some Zephyrians had come, their crystal forms sparkling with curiosity. Dr. Hexalan arrived with a group of scientists from Proxima Station. He looked better than anyone had seen him in years. His inflammation was completely gone, and his energy levels were higher than they had been since he was young. "Marcus," he said, "I cannot thank you enough. Your food has given me my life back." The feast was carefully planned. Each dish was designed to provide specific benefits to different alien species, but in doses small enough to be completely safe. The Rigelians would get anti-inflammatory compounds from turmeric and ginger. The Centaurians would try probiotics from fermented foods. The vegans would sample mild stimulants from coffee and tea. For the humans, it was just a normal meal. But for the aliens, it was medicine disguised as dinner. As the evening began, Marcus gave a short speech. 6 months ago, the Federation decided that human food was too dangerous to allow. Tonight, we're here to prove that food isn't about danger. It's about healing, about bringing people together, about sharing the best of what we have with each other. The first course was served, a simple soup made with human vegetables and spices, but carefully modified for alien biology. The Rigelians tried their portions nervously, but within minutes they were smiling as their chronic pain began to fade. The Centaurians found that their stomachs, which had troubled them for years, felt calm and settled. As the meal continued, something wonderful happened. The aliens didn't just feel better physically. They began to understand what humans had been trying to tell them all along. Food wasn't just fuel for the body. It was culture, it was art, it was love made edible. A Zephyrian named Crystalleth tried a tiny piece of chocolate and was amazed not just by the mild euphoria it caused, but by the complex flavors that seemed to tell a story. "This is not just medicine," she said to Marcus. "This is art." "That's exactly right," Marcus replied. "Human food is both medicine and art. We don't just eat to survive. We eat to live." But the peaceful dinner was interrupted when Federation security ships suddenly surrounded the station. High Chancellor Vexton S. personal cruiser led the fleet, its weapons powered up and ready to fire. "Attention Deep Space Nine," came Vexton S. voice over the communication system. "You are harboring dangerous criminals and illegal substances. Surrender immediately or we will board by force." Amy Rodriguez stood up from her table. "This is Captain Rodriguez, we are not criminals. We are citizens of the galaxy sharing a meal together. There's nothing illegal happening here." "You are distributing class-A hazardous materials," Vexton replied. "The food ban remains in effect." But before anyone could respond, something unexpected happened. Federation security officers on Vexton S.'s own ship began to speak up. "Sir," came the voice of Commander Thelvos over the open channel, "I've been reviewing the medical data from Proxima Station. The researchers there have proven that human food is beneficial, not dangerous. I cannot in good conscience arrest people for healing the sick." "Commander, you will follow orders," Vexton said angrily. "I'm sorry, sir, but I refuse." "These people are not criminals. They are heroes." One by one, other Federation officers began to voice their support for the dinner. Many of them had family members who had been helped by human food. Others had seen the medical evidence and knew the ban was wrong. Vexton found himself facing not just the people at the dinner, but a rebellion within his own security forces. Half of his ships powered down their weapons and refused to attack. Jake Morrison, who had arrived earlier in the day, activated the station's main communication system. "High Chancellor, you are welcome to join us for dinner." We have prepared a special meal that could help with the joint problems that Zephyrians your age often suffer from." There was a long silence. Then slowly, Vexton's personal shuttle left his cruiser and docked with the station. When the High Chancellor entered the cargo bay, the room fell silent. His crystal form was dim, showing his uncertainty and confusion. He looked around at the mixed crowd of humans and aliens all sitting together peacefully. "This is not what I expected to find," he said quietly. Dr. Blackwood, who had been released from custody the day before, approached him with a small plate of food. "High Chancellor, this contains compounds that could help with the crystalline degradation that affects elderly Zephyrians. It's completely safe in this dosage." Vexton looked at the food suspiciously. "How do I know this isn't poison?" "Because," said Dr. Hexalon, standing up from his table, "I have been eating human food for weeks. It saved my life. It has saved all of our lives." Around the room, aliens began sharing their stories. The Regelian child who could now walk without pain, the Centauran trader whose stomach problems had disappeared, the vegan scientist whose chronic fatigue was gone. Slowly, Vexton took a small bite of the food Dr. Blackwood had offered. The effect wasn't immediate, but after a few minutes, his crystal form began to brighten. The stiffness in his movements, which had been getting worse for years, began to ease. "This is impossible," he whispered. "Our medical experts said human food was deadly." "Your medical experts were paid by pharmaceutical companies," Jake Morrison said gently. "They lied to protect their profits. Human food isn't dangerous. It's the most advanced medicine in the galaxy." The revelation hit Vexton like a physical blow. He had been responsible for the suffering of millions of humans, for the near starvation of human colonies, for the imprisonment of people who were actually trying to help, and it had all been based on lies. "I've made a terrible mistake," he said, his voice barely audible. The room remained quiet as Vexton struggled with the enormity of what he had done. Finally, he activated his communicator. "Attention all Federation vessels," he announced. "The food embargo is hereby ended. All restrictions on human food products are immediately lifted. The Federation formally apologizes to the human species for the suffering we have caused." The cargo bay erupted in cheers. Humans hugged aliens, aliens hugged each other, and everyone hugged the cooks who had made it all possible. But Marcus Johnson wasn't finished yet. "High Chancellor," he said, "we'd like to propose something new, not just ending the ban, but creating something better. A galactic culinary alliance where every species can share their food and learn from each other." Vexton, still amazed by how much better he felt, nodded enthusiastically. Yes, we should do that. Food should bring the galaxy together, not drive it apart." Over the following months, everything changed. Human restaurants opened on alien worlds. Alien chefs came to Earth to learn about human cooking techniques. The pharmaceutical companies that had pushed for the ban found their stock prices crashing as people discovered that food could often heal better than expensive medicines. Amy Rodriguez opened the galaxy's first human-alien fusion restaurant on Centauri Prime. Dr. Blackwood became the director of the new Galactic Institute for Nutritional Medicine. Chef Marcus Johnson received the Federation's highest honor for cultural contribution. Jake Morrison stood in his office a year later, looking out at the busy spaceport where human and alien ships loaded and unloaded food products from across the galaxy. His desk was covered with dinner invitations from alien worlds that wanted to host cultural exchange dinners. On his wall hung a simple photo from the Galactic Potluck, hundreds of different species sitting together, sharing a meal, and discovering that the thing they had feared most about humans was actually humanity's greatest gift to the galaxy, food. It turned out really was the universal language of peace.